you can use to talk about movement, places, and people. This is also a quiz lesson, so I would like you to participate. And if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals, and building your vocabulary is incredibly important, especially if you want to become a more proficient speaker. So let's start out with movement. These are all words that you can use when talking about movement. And to start out, you see the word, those question marks up there. I'm giving you the meaning of the word, and I just want you to tell me what word am I talking about? In this case, we're talking about a verb because we're talking about movement and actions. So these are verbs. Move with a smooth, quiet, continuous motion. What do you think? What word has this meaning? And then I'll give you a moment to think about it, tell you the answer, and then I have some videos that I want to show you so that you can actually see the word in progress. So I kind of tried to give you a little bit of a hint with this picture of a swan right here, and thinking about how a swan might move through the water with that smooth, quiet, continuous motion to through the water. So the word that we're talking about in this case is glide, to glide through the water. Excellent. Vicky, Gustav, great to see you. Rafaela, Lali, Takayo. I just want to give some shout outs. So glide, it has that meaning. To move with a smooth, quiet, continuous motion. And a great association is a swan. So I want you to check this out. Now this swan right here is coming in for a landing. It is a little bit rough right now to begin with, but now we're starting that glide, and you can see that gliding through the water and just continuing that smooth motion as it moves through the water, to glide. Here is the next one. What do you think? Jump or dive energetically. And really, I think this verb is often used when talking about you're into the water. So you can see this picture right here, this diver, this person who, I almost gave it away, jumped into the pool, but you could say to into the water. You're jumping, you're diving quickly, energetically. I think you will always, well, not always, but mostly hear this verb when talking about something dropping into the water. So the verb that we're looking for, in case you're unfamiliar with it or this is new, is plunge. To plunge into the water. Often you may follow this verb with that preposition into, to plunge into something, to plunge into the pool, to plunge into the water, to plunge into the lake. Here is a great example of plunge, and you see this guy right here. Let's watch it again. And off the boat and plunging into the water. One more time, just for good measure, plunge into the water. So I want to make a quick announcement, because if you are someone who enjoys building your vocabulary and especially would like more speaking practice, you can check out the link down below if you'd like to enroll and join my speaking course. The course is for upper intermediate to advanced speakers, and it's all about trying to help you speak confidently, speak clearly, and speak naturally. Check out that link down below in the description. Go to the course page. You can learn more about class times and availability, and just improve your speaking skills in 2025. Let's look at the next one. This is a verb for those of you who are in the chat right now who have taken that we have certainly talked about. It means to walk slowly with exhaustion or harsh conditions. So think about the picture. This person is walking through the snow. Now, it's not easy to walk through the snow. They're probably walking slowly with difficulty. These are harsh conditions. What verb can we use? It's very descriptive. It's a lot more precise. If you are telling a story or talking about your experience and you really want to capture this idea that you are moving slowly in difficulty because of something. And in this case, again, we're talking about the snow. So the verb that we're looking for is trudge. Excellent, Rafaela, Victoria, Tom, Takayo, to trudge through the snow. This is another verb that you can follow with different prepositions. You could trudge through the snow, trudge through the mud, trudge up a hill, trudge down a hill. And again, something is really causing you to walk slowly in this case. Let me give you an example. You see this guy who, I mean, I could say walking through the snow, but if I want to be a little more precise, I guess, yeah, he was trudging through the snow. And you can see he's moving slowly with difficulty because of these harsh conditions and trying to move through the snow and trudging through the snow. What do you think about this? You could think about the picture. You have this deer in headlights, so there's a car, and well, what is the car? What's the car going to have to do? Change or cause to change direction abruptly. And often I think you may hear this verb used when talking about somebody driving, and they have to change direction abruptly, and they're going to into the other lane, or to avoid hitting something in the road. So, of course, we see this deer. We don't want to hit the deer. And if this is at the very last minute, what are you going to have to do with the car? Vroom. Change direction abruptly. And in that case, the verb that we're going to use is to swerve. To swerve is to change or cause to change direction abruptly. So this is actually from a TV show, but you can see what's going on here. We can check that out again. And he's driving along, not paying attention, swerves the car to avoid hitting the other one, and then ends up hitting this trash can. Let's watch it one more time. And then he swerves the car, hits the trash can, and again, this is a word that you may use when talking about driving and in a car. So here is the other one with movement, and then we're going to talk about places and people. So what verb means to move slowly and carefully in order to avoid being heard or noticed? Now, there may be other words out there that have a similar meaning, but there's one in particular that I want to highlight. So again, don't just feel like there's only one word out there that you can use. But in general, we're talking about moving slowly, carefully. You're trying to avoid being noticed or heard. What verb could you use? Now, I see some good answers as far as like to sneak. That, again, that works. That is like being careful. You don't want somebody to notice you. To tiptoe, that's another one. So again, I told you there are other words that would fit this meaning. But the word that I was looking for is to creep. So creep, tiptoe, sneak, these are generally synonyms. So I don't want to tell you that those are wrong answers, but again, this is another great way to build your vocabulary and learn some of these different synonyms. Here's an example with the cat. You can see this cat who is just creeping up on this bird, this pigeon. Maybe I think the cat thinks the bird's going to fly away, but decides not to. We can check that out again. And if we're going to use that verb to creep, notice when I gave you that example, to creep up on someone. The cat is creeping up on the bird and just trying not to be noticed, moving slowly, and the bird just sits there like I don't really care. I'm not going to fly away. I'm not going to move. Hopefully some of those words were new for you. Again, this is all about trying to build your vocabulary, not just to go out and use them, but also to improve your listening and reading comprehension, because these are words that you will come across from time to time. Let's now move on and talk about places. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm giving you an example sentence as well as the first letter of the word. So the sentence, the bare trees stood tall in the landscape. So I'm giving you the first letter of our missing word. And then I'll tell you the word and give you the meaning. It begins with the letter D. And I will say that I do think this is a common collocation with this adjective talking about a landscape. So the word that is missing, desolate. Empty and not attractive, or with no people or nothing pleasant in it. Desolate. A desolate landscape. Excellent. Anuj, Lali, Rafaela, Naja, perfect. So think about that word. You might use it to describe a landscape, a desert, or just some empty area and refer to it as desolate. Here, I just mentioned when talking about creep, tiptoe, sneak, and thinking about synonyms, a great way to build your vocabulary. These are some synonyms for the word desolate. And you could use thesaurus.com. This is just to provide you with an example, and you can see some of the other words down there. Bare, bleak, derelict, empty, isolated. Again, this is another way to build your vocabulary, make some associations, because these are maybe some of these words you already know. And it's something else to keep in mind when building your vocabulary and just learning more synonyms. Here's this one. Maybe this is a bit more challenging. The Four Seasons is an hotel. The missing word, the adjective, begins with an O. And I think you know the vowel sound because you see the article an. Hotel. The Four Seasons, a very well-known, luxurious hotel. I have never stayed in a Four Seasons hotel. Probably never will. That's okay. I don't mind. But if you want to be descriptive and talk about this type of hotel, and you want to say, again, it's luxurious, I don't want to give it away, but you can use this adjective, an hotel. So the word that I'm thinking of is opulent. Opulent means expensive and luxurious. An opulent hotel, an opulent building, an opulent lobby. And you just want to say that, wow, this is impressive, it's very luxurious, it's very fancy, it's very expensive, it's opulent. What do you think? Over the weekend, we took a trip to the countryside. This is another adjective that it's very descriptive. It's one that you're not probably going to come across every day. But if you're reading a book, if you're someone who likes to read stories, this is when I think authors definitely use more descriptive words. So you could come across this adjective, especially when talking about the countryside. Over the weekend, we took a trip to the countryside. The missing word, our adjective, begins with the letter V. So you have this picture of the countryside, and I chose this picture specifically because it's very green, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, I see something like vibrant. I wouldn't use vibrant in this case because vibrant makes me think of really energetic, colorful, and the first word when I think of vibrant, I think of the city of Miami, the way it looks and the different colors and the architecture. So I'm looking for a different adjective, and I mentioned the word green because the word that I'm thinking of is verdant. Verdant means covered with healthy green plants and grass. Another collocation, verdant countryside, the verdant forest, the verdant jungle. So you're talking about a place that's probably, well, green with plants and grass. And to highlight this, I just want to really hammer this home. This is something else you can keep in mind when building your vocabulary. You want to make associations. You could go to Google Images, put the words in quotes, and then just see what pops up. And I'm sure the first thing that you notice there, all of those images, they have one. Now, whether they're showing a tropical rainforest or just a forest or the countryside, you can see that color when talking about, like, well, the verdant landscape. And in that case, you know, okay, there are plants, it's very green if something is verdant. Here is the next one. I think this is probably an adjective that's more commonly used. You may be familiar with it. My office is a mess, but her office is always This word begins with the letter P. So already in the example sentence, you can see that we're making a comparison. And this is a contrast. We're contrasting these two offices. Mine is a mess, but her office is the opposite. You could say is always Which word that begins with the letter P that you could use to describe something, in this case, a place, which would be a room or an office, that is not messy, that is very clean, and the word, which I saw a lot of, excellent, pristine. If something is pristine, it is immaculately clean or has never been used. My office is a mess, but her office is always pristine. Excellent. Arno, Lokshif, Isaac, Hugo, great job. Saw a lot of perfect, great answers in there. Well done. How about this next one? This is a little more challenging, and maybe hopefully the image perhaps helps a little bit. Within the impoverished city, there is a wealthy with opulent homes. I wanted to bring that word back up. Remember, if something is opulent, it's very luxurious, expensive. So let's say that you have this city that is generally impoverished, and that is this side right here. But then within the city, over there on the other side, you see those opulent homes, very wealthy. This is not a real picture, by the way. I believe it's AI generated. But you could say within this city, there is a wealthy with opulent homes. So the missing word begins with an E. So this is another very precise word when referring to something within. So we're talking about within this impoverished city, there is this, again, I guess I could say a neighborhood, but we're not talking about a neighborhood. Even though a neighborhood would be within, I want to use this other word that begins with an E that describes this situation. So the word that we're looking for, well done, Lolly, an enclave. A separate space or group within a larger one. So in the example, within the impoverished city, there is a wealthy enclave with opulent homes. Now, I realize maybe this is a more advanced word. Most of these, I think, are fairly advanced. So again, you're not going to come across them every day. But even if these are difficult, hopefully some are new, and that it's going to help your comprehension. Listening, reading, you may come across them. To give you a little more context with this word, because, like I said, maybe it's one that is new for you, here are some news headlines so that you can get a better feel as to how it's used. Bridgewater's Bob Prince buys $12 million home in wealthy Hong Kong enclave. So we're talking about an area within the city of Hong Kong. This couple transform a Birmingham ballroom into a lush garden enclave on their big day. Okay. Moscow-backed enclave in Moldova feels pain from lack of Russian gas. We're talking about the country of Moldova, and in this country, there is an area within it that is a Moscow-backed enclave. And then finally, up to 1,500 migrants swim to Spain's Ceuta enclave from Morocco. All of these headlines are very recent, so again, it is a word that you may come across. You're reading a news article just like this, and you find the word enclave. Now you know what it means. Let's move on to the next topic, because I divided this into different parts, and talk about a person's appearance and the way that they look. Again, I'm switching it up a little bit because now I'm giving you the meaning and an example sentence, but I'm not giving you any hint as to the word that I'm talking about. I'm not giving you the first letter. So this word, the meaning when talking about, well, of hair, clothes, or somebody's general appearance, it just means very untidy. He's been drinking all night. Now he looks a bit, you can see this picture of this gentleman here holding the bottle. And I will say, I think often it does refer to somebody's appearance, like the way that their hair looks. It's very untidy. Like if I were to screw up my hair, like I didn't get a lot of sleep, and you say, oh, Wes, you look a little, not hungover. I mean, if you've been drinking, yes, that would work. But this is a very descriptive word. It's an adjective that you may not be familiar with. It's one that I talked about when we did the member video for this month. Hadi, Huea, Rafaela, well done, disheveled. So if you say somebody looks a bit disheveled, then you're referring to, well, their appearance, but I think generally like the way their hair looks and maybe their clothes, and something has happened and as to why they look a little disheveled, lack of sleep. In this case, somebody's been out drinking all night and they look a bit disheveled. I see some that unkempt is a good one. That's another one I think is a synonym. I love it. Horrible, sure. That is a common adjective that you could use. All right, love seeing these emojis. It tells me you're learning some new words, which is perfect. That is the goal. So here is the next one, showing great happiness, love, or health. I know this is a bit more difficult when I'm not giving you too much, because there are other adjectives that kind of fit this meaning. All of these words definitely have synonyms, but this word means showing great happiness, love, or health. Her smile lit up the room. And I do think this is used as a collocation, talking about someone's smile, and you're really giving them a compliment. And I could say her smile lit up the room. Refers to showing that happiness, love, health, and you could say that someone looks radiant. That is the word that I'm going for. Her radiant smile lit up the room. Now, of course, there are many adjective collocations with smile, that adjective noun collocation. Radiant smile, a brilliant smile. So again, don't always think of this as like, oh, a wrong answer, a right answer. The goal is, if you didn't get it, it's okay. Is just building your vocabulary. Perhaps this is a word that you didn't think of, but you've heard it before when talking about the way somebody looks, and they look radiant. Here is a word that is maybe not as commonly used. It is very precise. It refers to slightly sad because you are thinking about something you cannot have. She listened to, sorry, there should be an article in there. She listened to a sad and song about a lost love. So which adjective could you use that has this meaning? I told you already, it is definitely a more advanced word, so it may not be one that it's going to be difficult to think of off the top of your head. Slightly sad because you are thinking about something that you cannot have. And in this case, I'm using this adjective to modify the word song, a song. I see like some frustrated. Again, that is a more common word, so that's not the one that's not the adjective I'm looking for in this case. And again, this may be new. If it is, that's awesome, because I do think you may come across this in stories. I told you authors, they like to use this very precise and descriptive words. Wistful. If somebody is wistful, it means they are slightly sad because you are thinking about something you cannot have. I see a couple people mention nostalgic. I think that also is pretty close, because if you're nostalgic, you are thinking about something that happened or that you can't have. And I think generally it does imply that maybe somebody is sad because, well, it's this experience is over. However, I do think in this case, if you really want to capture this emotion of sadness, then I think wistful is a good one to use. Here's the next one. I think this one may be a little easier, because I believe it's one you may have come across, and perhaps you already use, which is great. I tried to mix it up a little bit, but definitely I would still say these are all advanced words. Calm, peaceful, untroubled, and tranquil. Right? So I'm giving you all these synonyms right here. She looked peaceful and as she watched the sunset. So of course you could say, again, I'm using these words peaceful and calm, peaceful and tranquil. That would work. But what is another word that we could use that is a synonym for calm, peaceful, tranquil? She looked peaceful and as she watched the sun set. The word that I'm looking for, see, some of you got it, like I said, perfect. We're talking about serene. So these are synonyms: calm, peaceful, untroubled, and tranquil. She looked peaceful and serene. I think when it comes to some of these words and you want to be a little more descriptive, if you're telling a story or, like I said, you're reading a book, you come across it, you may use more than one. Even though they're synonyms, people may still use it just to add emphasis. Calm and serene, peaceful and serene, serene and tranquil. And you may end up using more than one adjective. This one means physically weak or unhealthy. And the sentence, he lay in bed looking particularly. Now this, I don't know if you can see it too well in the picture. This is an older man laying in bed, trying to say that somebody is physically weak or unhealthy. Generally speaking, I think you would use this adjective to talk about older people, somebody who may be in their 70s or 80s, and you want to say that they are, physically weak or unhealthy, and you could refer to them as so again, there are other words that you could use. Feeble, a good example. That's not the one I'm looking for. I will tell you, it does start with an F. So the word that I'm going for, not feeble, but if somebody looks, physically weak or unhealthy, I could also say that he or she is frail. He lay in bed looking particularly frail. Now, if I want to check the frequency, because I just gave you 5 different words to talk about someone's appearance, and I told you these are descriptive words, they're advanced, so they're not ones that you're going to come across every day. But even if I want to compare the ones that we just learned and just talked about, I can use Ngram Viewer and put in these phrases. Looks disheveled, looks radiant, looks wistful, looks serene, looks frail. And then if I zoom in, I get a better idea as to which ones are more commonly used. So you can see it puts it on a graph for us, and you can see saying somebody looks radiant or frail is a little more common than using words like wistful or disheveled. So just something to keep in mind if you have different words or phrases and you want to know, well, which one is more commonly used? What do most people say in this situation? You can use Ngram Viewer to check that out. And again, this is a perfect example with the words that we just used right now: radiant, frail, serene, wistful, and disheveled. The one thing I'd like to point out, though, because again, it puts it on a graph, is that you can see that the frequency of these words since the year 2000 has been on the rise. That people are using them more, either in, well, this is taken from a written corpus, so they're definitely using them more in writing, but I do think you would also hear them more in conversation, watching a movie, listening to the news, or a podcast. So here are all of the words that we talked about when thinking about movement, places, people. I hope some of these words were new for you. And if you enjoyed the lesson and learned something new, you can let me know by hitting that like button, because this is something that I try to focus on every year, but I want to focus on it this year as well, and really focus on helping you build your vocabulary, learn new words, whether you're learning them passively or actively. It's all about, just building slowly that process and making these words a part of your active memory. So these are the words. You can review them, but I hope you enjoyed the lesson and learned something new. And of course, I will see you very soon in the future for another lesson. So long.